True. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of the 18 chapters of the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. The milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, Lord Krishna here in the 5th chapter continues to make the connection between what we seek, which is bliss. Actually, all of the things that we seek, we have. So it's a very interesting pointer, because we seek everlasting life, we seek knowledge, and we seek happiness, and we seek love. So seeing all of these related. If we say, what's the highest? We might say love, we might say happiness. But it'll be the same, right?
Yes.
So, and that's a beautiful description of the qualities of Satchidananda. So he's making the connection between this yoga being karma yoga, specifically renunciation of the fruit, unveiling, revealing the wisdom, abiding in the wisdom. And so because of this pleasure, pain, raga, dvesha being such a big thing for us, he's staying with it. So we continue, we pick up there. 21, sloka 21, we'd covered yesterday. We read this translation. If you let go of attachment to external things, you will delight in the bliss of Atman, the true self. Persistent meditation upon Brahman, the infinite, brings a state of uninterrupted joy. And then we had read this as well. It's where we closed. Pleasures that come from sense contacts, Arjuna, actually are the womb of pain. We call this discussion, right? Do we see it? So there's, in the commentary, there's some discussion. Swami Venkatesh has a beautiful commentary as well. You can read later if you'd like this on 21, or 22 rather. It says, a wise person does not delight in pleasure that comes and goes, nor does a wise person avoid pain, but this is what's shared. Okay, so commentary from Swami Satchidananda. He says, Buddha is the one who has a buddhi, or discerning intellect. So, di meaning light, bud is intellect. Sorry, I say that backwards. I said that backwards. Di is intellect, bud, light. So buddhi is discerning intellect, one who is wise. So a Buddha is the one with that discerning intellect. That's the meaning of the word. A wise person will never expect joy from the outside world or by contact with outside objects. The truth is, joy can never come from outside. That's the truth, he emphasizes. Happiness can never come from outside. Even if it seems to be coming from outside, it's only a reflection of your inner happiness. When we depend upon the pleasures that seem to come from outside, each has its pain behind it. Such pleasure begins with pain and later ends with pain. even as you begin seeking the pleasure, you are in a sort of a pain, thirsting for it. Soon after you get it, you feel the pain or anxiety to protect it for fear of losing it. And then who's wise, he says? The one who will never ever look for happiness from outside things. This doesn't mean running away from pleasures. Instead, simply understand, I can't be happy by having this or acquiring that or by achieving something. The world has yet to see anyone who could say, I'm happy because I got everything I wanted. Okay. Never. One want begets 10 wants. True, you may want things just for the fun of wanting, but not for the happiness. He's saying, true, you may want things just for the fun of wanting, but not for the happiness. He's saying you can do that. We tell a little story here. So, Swami Shivananda provides this. Sow an action and reap a tendency. Sow a tendency and reap a habit. Sow a habit and reap a character. Sow a character and reap a destiny. Someone asked yesterday if destiny is real. And the answer is yes, destiny is real. It is shaped by your own thoughts, words, and actions, and it can constantly be reshaped as you cultivate divine thoughts, words, and actions. So here's a little story. So you can imagine that you live in the city and you live close to your work and you walk to work every day. So it's a 1 mile, 20-minute walk like that. Comfortable walk. It's your daily exercise, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. And you know everything about it. You've been doing it for some years. And one day, you see activity in a building that's been vacant for several years. And so upon seeing the activity, what comes?
Curiosity.
Is there a question like, I wonder what that is? Huh? It starts there. So I wonder what that is. I wonder what they're going to put in. And so, but every day you're walking past. So every day there's a little bit more activity. So what happens as you're walking past? You look at it, you're curious, the mind, what are they doing now?
What's happening right near the gas
What could be coming? Sorry, yes?
Something near the gas station.
What's that?
Building something right
Yeah, see, there you go. There you go.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, we're going there.
Yes.
So, and we say it's only natural, to be curious about what it is. And I wonder what it is. And then the imaginings come about what it might be. Mm-hmm. What could it be? What could it be? Could it be a store, a market? We could use a market along here. We never had a market on this route. It would be nice to have a market. Maybe it's a restaurant. I wonder what kind of restaurant it would be. Maybe, yeah. So, and we keep going, and then after a month, they put the counters in. They bring some bakery equipment in, and now it gets really interesting. Because now you know that they're ovens. So they're going to bake something. So it's either, what could it be? Could be a restaurant, could be a bakery. If it's a bakery, what kind of bakery would it be? I love Italian bread.
Salt and coffee.
Continue on. By the way, take a snapshot. Look at your thoughts now at the office and look at them at home and see if they've been altered in any way.
Of course.
See if that leaks into the thoughts. See if there's some reflection during the day. I wonder what that is. Wow. It's a great mystery. I really want to know. Restaurant. Wow. That could be cool. Does it come during the day? Yeah. Does it come into your dreams, maybe?
Yeah.
Could be. So another couple of weeks or so. And the counters continuing to be prepared, the space, and now they're hiring. And another couple of weeks, or a few weeks, or a month, and they put up the sign, La Patisserie French Bakery. Wow.
Scored.
Wow. So if I've ever been to Paris, thoughts of Paris. The bakery on the Rive Gauche. Oh, I remember the croissant. I remember meeting my beau there. Oh, that went south. Oh my God, that's the most terrible thing. Look at the thoughts. Consider, reflect on. Now, the fateful day comes. They put up a sign. Tomorrow, we're opening tomorrow. They're opening on Friday morning. And a free pastry for everyone. Free pastry for everyone. So what could that hurt? So now, and I see it in the morning walking to work. So daydreaming during the day. I wonder what kind of pastries I'm going to get tomorrow. Maybe a little salivation during the day. That croissant.
And I hope they have organic coffee.
And organic coffee. It better be organic. It better be organic. And organic milk, I wonder if they'll have coconut milk. And then, so look at the thoughts during the day. And then in the morning, you get that chocolate croissant or blintz or whatever it was. That was on your mind, that's your heart's desire. You have it, and it's just amazing. Oh, memories flood back of all of the blintzes before, all of the chocolate croissants, the almond croissants, and oh my goodness, this is amazing to have them in the neighborhood. And so, look at what happens to the thought. Look at what happens to the thoughts. So, and by the way, look at what happens to your life now. Because now it's $10 in the morning and $10 every night walking back. And by the way, they close at 6 p.m. and you used to work until 6 p.m., but now you leave the office early in order to get your evening croissant and coffee.
Oh, yes. Right.
So an action reap a tendency. So a tendency and reap a habit. It becomes... So are you thinking about it during the day? What are you going to order tonight on the way back? Are you thinking about at night what you're going to have in the morning? How long? $10 a day. 20 work days, $200 a month. Oh, no, morning and night. That's $400 a month. Are you asking for a raise? Do you get upset because you're not making enough money? Look at all this, the related stuff that comes in, right? Have we experienced all of this?
Can relate.
Yeah. And by the way, it's my right to have these. So we threaten our employer.
Oh my gosh. My apple danish every morning.
Oh
my God. You're right.
And then one day, a year and a half later, 2 years later, they put up a sign and say, closed. Death in the family in France. We had to leave the country. Or it's closed by the IRS or something. You can imagine any scenario. Closed. Now what? Now what? Now it's a heavy addiction. That coffee in the morning, that coffee at night, that chocolate croissant or whatever the heck it is in the morning, the one at night. And now it's a right, it's part of your character. Now you're even known as a donut eater.
Oh yeah, you see yes. Yes.
All this time you haven't had a car, but now you have to learn how to drive, you have to get a car.
Do they have it?
5 miles away, there's a good French bakery.
Yeah.
So I just need to be able to go there. If we saw this, We're laughing through all of this, but it is the way it works, isn't it?
Oh.
From the beginning of that curiosity, there's only pain there. From the beginning of that curiosity, if you feed it, there's only pain there. Do you see? There's nothing but pain there. There's nothing but pain there. From that moment. And we feed it, and ego will say to us, it's okay, it's not a big deal, it's just a little pleasure. Mm-hmm. But this is the way it goes. And we built our lives of this stuff. I like this, I don't like that. Huh? And so I live for what I like and to avoid what I don't like. This is the modern life of convenience. Right? And so we look at these habits that we have, and they've all come from this. When someone takes another birth, and the last time they developed the drinking habit, and the karma has not worked out yet. So what happens? Soon as they smell a drink, right? Incomplete karma, not completed karma. Habits don't happen just like that. Habits are earned.
We've worked hard for them.
We've worked very hard for them.
Yes.
We had to suffer in order to have them, and now we suffer with them. Still not seeing. So the question is, if you knew this is the way it works, what would you do when you see something, or smell something, or taste something that looks interesting? What would you do?
Just be grateful for what you got.
Run away.
The sense pleasures.
That's what Krishna is saying. Run away. What does that mean? Withdraw the senses, withdraw the mind from the stuff. Use your intellect, use your power of discernment, see the way it goes, run away, pull yourself back from it. Pull yourself back from it. Say to yourself, no. No, I know how this goes. No. No, we're cultivating peace here.
Not your job.
We're cultivating peace. We want freedom from this.
Yeah.
We don't want to continue in this way. We want moksha. Moksha is freedom from this cycle. And it's nothing other than freedom from the cycle of raga, dvesha, and delusion. That's what moksha is.
When you know about quantum physics and you know that there's no independent reality in any of those things, then there's no curiosity anymore, because it could be anything, basically.
Well, maybe, if you apply it, but you have to know it. And I mean know it, every cell.
Yeah.
Integrated knowledge, full, complete knowledge. And knowing it means living it.
At all times.
Right? Knowing it means living it. So otherwise it's not knowledge, it's information.
Yeah.
That's true.
So knowing it means knowing the way it works here. Right? And also knowing, of course, that highest reality is all I care about. Mm-hmm. Again, we get this case where we see, if you know quantum physics, so the quantum physicist lives in a very strange world, because for them there's no world.
Right.
Yeah. So he says, with a different attitude, true, you may want things just for the fun of wanting, but not for the happiness. And if you don't get what you want, that should be fun too. Hey, I wanted it, I didn't get it, this is great fun. Enjoy the wanting, not the getting, and enjoy losing it also. Hey, I got it, see? Look at that, I lost it now, isn't it wonderful? Don't lose your happiness while wanting, getting, or losing something. It's like playing chess or cards. Don't lose your joy if you lose the game. It's all just fun. People will ask the question, when we get to this subject, people will ask the question, does that mean that I can't have any joy in life? Does it mean that I can't enjoy anything? And of course the answer will be, and how can you enjoy anything that you crave? Because it's enjoying you. There's no joy in it. As long as there's that relationship, that raga-dvesha relationship with it, then see what happens in the mind and see that only pain comes from it. So somehow we have to break it. And we can say from the other side, when Swamiji is talking about this fun of wanting, he's coming from the perspective of an enlightened being who's no longer bound to the cycle of craving, right? So if we come out the other side, it's a joy to be in relationship with the objects. If you know what the objects are, right? If you know what's underlying them, if you're not craving one and trying to run away from another, then life becomes a joy. It's really joyful. It's not. We can see why this world exists from that perspective. From the other perspective, the question is, why does this world exist? Because it's nothing but pain and sorrow, right? Everything that's born dies. Everything that's good goes bad. Huh? Everything that's pleasurable becomes painful. So from that perspective, then, this world is a terror, isn't it? It's not a joyful place. But free of the craving, then of course it's joyful. Because now you're not motivated to have to get something. You can be in play, in being engaged in your duty, whatever that is, being in touch with yourself, capital S self, being really in touch, taking identity from that, meditating on that, not leaving it for even a moment, in the inner space, never leaving it. Right? In the inner space, never leaving for even a moment. And then whatever comes, it's pleasurable, beautiful. It's painful, it won't last.
It won't last, exactly.
So, what's the big deal? With this understanding, life becomes fun, he says. Whoever has this understanding is wise. Otherwise, we're making a big mistake trying to get happiness from outside. This is what Sri Krishna is trying to drive home. The same was said by Sri Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras. For a viveki, one who sees, a person of discrimination, everything is painful. If we see it, right? If we see the way it works, everything's painful. He means that outside pleasures ultimately are followed by pain. In and of themselves, things aren't painful. So the pain is not in the object, right? So where's the pain?
No choice.
It's in that craving, that being beholden to raga-dvesha. Only when our approach is wrong do they become painful and tell us, hi, don't look at me for your happiness, just have me for the fun of it, like a game. But don't ever expect to be happy by using your own ego or your intelligence. If you think, I'm very intelligent, I can be happy always, you may be disappointed. Sometimes your own intelligence brings both pleasure and pain. Nor does your body bring you joy. The body also, in a way, is outside you. The real you is just simply you, an isolated I. All that you have or possess is part of the outside world, part of nature. Even by always controlling the mind and using your intelligence, you can't be truly happy. That's the meaning of this teaching. Instead, act not for the happiness, but as the appropriate duty of the moment. Well, I'm here, this is what I should be doing, and I'm doing it. Opportunities present themselves and we respond to them. And if there's nothing to do, we're just as happy. Dig a hole and put a seed inside, then close it. Before you put the seed inside the hole, it was in a gummy bag. The seed wasn't unhappy. He's sharing interesting perspective. Was the seed unhappy while it was in the bag? It says, no, it wasn't unhappy. It was just a seed. Then you put it in the hole. It's just there. It's not extra happy because now it's in the hole. Instead of being in a gummy bag, it's in a hole. Does the seed demand, come on, pour water on me, I want to grow? No, when you pour water, it grows. Is it happy? You poured water, now I'm growing. No, it says you poured water, now it's my duty to grow. If you stop pouring water, I'll be there. I'm just doing my duty according to the conditions present. A wise person functions that way, never ever losing happiness for any reason. He or she knows that looking for happiness from the outside brings pain. The cause of pain and the womb of pain, of that pain, is ignorance. Okay, continuing. 23, where Krishna continues. While still in a human body, if you can stand fast amid the forces of desire and anger, then surely you are a yogi destined for happiness. 24, bless you. The yogi who discovers happiness and joy within is also illumined solely from within. That yogi becomes one with God and marvels in the ecstasy of God. 25. Those who have realized their unity with Brahman, the Absolute, are the rishis, or sages, from whom sin and doubt have dropped away. They have transcended the dualities of nature and delight in the welfare of all beings.
So, Swamiji,
Um,
about 24, he's saying the one who discovers joy inside. So we can discover this in many ways, like during meditation, for example, you will have that insight. But it's not talking about that. He's saying you will be realized and you will be enlightened when you discover that. So you can discover and not be enlightened yet also.
You can discover that bliss is inside and not be enlightened. It's true.
Right.
It's true. But you're likely to be well on the path at that point. Having discovered that happiness is inside and not outside.
Right. That helps.
And here's another perspective on it that we can read. These two shlokas, 23 and 24. He who, while still here, is able to withstand the impulse born of desire and anger before liberation from the body is a yogi. He's a happy man. He who is happy within, who rejoices within, and whom is illumined within, that yogi attains absolute freedom or moksha, himself becoming Brahman. So we can say that the one who actually knows, integrated knowing, that happiness is not in the objects and only pain is there, will withdraw. The one who actually knows it will, of course, withdraw from them.
Yes.
Yeah? It doesn't make sense to the discerning intellect to continue to beat your head against the wall when you don't have to.
Right.
So it will happen. It will happen. And we become more, when we really know it, we become more and more acutely aware. So that knowledge becomes integrated knowledge, right? And that withdrawal is also bringing peace, bringing the light into the inner environment, yes?
Yeah.
Because the self, capital S self, or the soul, is not subjected any longer to that buffeting, to that extreme buffeting, right? So it will naturally settle in. It will naturally find its place. The capital S self, of course, the capital S self, from an absolute standpoint, we could say is always the absolute. But there is an as-if delusion that the soul is suffering from, an as-if delusion. We can say the soul is ever free, but somehow, quite mysteriously, through the power of this Maya, the soul does get wrapped up in the activities of this person, and therefore becomes bound.
Yes.
Again, we can say it's an as-if bondage, because if we simply release that, we discover I was never bound. That's one of those through the looking glass moments. So here's what Swamiji says about these two slokas. He says, in the inner depths of one's being is the point of contact with Brahman, the Absolute. So nothing changes that. And the point of contact with Brahman, the Absolute, is here in the inner depths. So however you get to those inner depths, the point of contact is there. And that is the light. This is the light. It is significant, therefore, that modern science has turned its searchlight of analysis on the nucleus, the subtler than the cell structure, for a knowledge of the fundamentals. No wonder either that herein is discovered amazing intelligence, power, and order. Are we on the threshold of a scientific discovery of God? He says, we too shall find our peace and bliss, light and life in that innermost depth where the soul is God. We shall realize that the force of God's love holding the whole universe together is misunderstood by the soul as the source of that sense pleasure which is easily experienced. So again, he talks about that as if delusion of the soul, right? Misunderstanding by the soul. Now the soul doesn't have a mind of its own. The soul is wearing the mind, but still having taken itself to be the mind and the person. So mistakenly misunderstood by the soul as the source of that sense pleasure, which is easily experienced. So the soul takes that happiness, which is in the capital S self alone, to be outside in the sensations, in sense objects. That's the crux of Maya. That's near the center of this Maya. This as if phenomenon. So the soul foolishly desires such pleasure, transferring it to external objects. And the yogi clears this mist of ignorance and rejoices within the self. Pleasure is not the goal of Indian ethics or religion. If personal pleasure is good, and so therefore the goal of man, then there would be chaos in the world, for what is pleasant for one causes pain in another, and someone's pleasure is always bought at the expense of another's. Krishna, therefore, deliberately turns man's vision away from pleasure-seeking desire. Pleasure and pain will still seek us out on account of past karma, the tendencies that are here in this person. But if we refrain from desiring pleasure and hating pain, karma will work itself out and we shall be liberated. So, and he makes the point about pleasure will still seek us out, pain will still seek us out. That is, because of the vasanas, the tendencies that are here, still not fried yet. Only in advanced states of samadhi are the vasanas fried. So it's the complete disidentification happen. Here we're disidentifying. We're in the process of disidentifying. Yeah? We're in the process of pulling ourselves back from this person. We're in the process of seeing that I am not any of this, right? And also to take myself to be this is a living death, right? It's nothing but pain after pain after pain. So the soul begins to see this as it were. And in the process, of course, the intellect is awakening.
Yes.
So what does that mean from a practical standpoint? If in the past you craved chocolate, if you've broken the craving, chocolate will still be enjoyed, and it will be enjoyed even the more so.
So that's
If there's no craving for it.
Right.
If it's simply offered, and there's not the compulsive feeling of having to have more of it, if you're free of that compulsive feeling, will it still be enjoyed? Of course it will, because the vasanas are still there. They've become more subtle, but they're still there. So, and therefore it'll be, the chocolate will come, a big smile will come. Wow, that's amazing. But without and then Om Brahma Pranam Brahma Vir Brahmagno Brahmanutam Brahmevitena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinam. And then when there's really the actualization, the realization that all of this is God, that we're smelling God, tasting God, touching God, seeing God, hearing God, when that is, because at the deepest, that knowledge is here, that there's only God here. So when that begins to pervade the person through the intellect as this awakening process continues, and the intellect actually grasps and accepts this is a form of God. This is a form of God. This tea here is a form of God. The doll, it's a form of God. And finds a way of relating in this way, then of course every experience can become pleasurable if it's really related to, because that beloved, that source of love is here everywhere. So and to actually have the experience, the real experience of tasting God on the tongue is quite something. And it's quite something. So we can say savikalpa samadhi when one is only experiencing God. It's quite something. Okay. Anything else for this morning? Comments, questions?
I like how Patanjali writes that future pain can be avoided.
Yes.
Hayam dukkha managatam.
Yes.
And that croissant example is just a beautiful illustration of that, on how it could be avoided.
Yes.
If you're able to discriminate and think it through and
Yes.
see what the pain what
Yes.
is the possible pain here.
By accepting the pain that will naturally be experienced through the intentional choice of a life of sadhana, a spiritual life, of purifying this and withdrawing ourselves from those sense objects, and what we saw as the joys that we've come to see are just pain.
Yeah.
Through that process, that's the first sutra of the book on practice. Yes? So,
Yes.
yeah. Then future pain can be avoided. Oh, beautiful indeed.
Also,
Thank you.
too, if you can see that you even might get into something like that and become a habit, it can also reflect that it will also be a rewiring of your brain itself,
Yeah.
and that if you come out that your whole brain has to re-network itself, which takes time. So it's a long process of coming off of whatever it is that gives you pleasure like that.
Yeah. It turns out that in the process of awakening, and then living awake, as it were, it's necessary to resolve everything. So what does that mean? The karmas will play out. The karmas that the person is engaged, of course, have to play out. And so as long as we're in this body, they play out. And if there are any attachments remaining, and the attachments are very subtle, then those have to be released as well. So better not to create any more. And Swamiji even says in his next commentary, he says, and then the karmas will just play out on their own. Oh.
For me, I was so stubborn in my experimentations that I've done everything, and I went all the way until it pretty much killed me. Like, it was almost dead. And they'd be like, okay, that doesn't work. And then I would have to stop. But then I would pick up another one after a while, and then take that until I would just almost drop it. And then I'm like, okay, can't do that anymore. My body said no.
Yeah, home. It's amazing, and what you see in that is the mind, ego-centered mind. So we can say the ego, finally, can never be satisfied with anything. You can give it the entire universe, and it will not be satisfied. So when you see that, That's another quantum physics revelation. Right? And it will, how much stuff how much damage will it do along the way?
Yeah.
How much will I have to unwind later on?
Yeah, that's the case.
Oh. Okay, so let's close with final prayers and arati. Page 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamamritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Ninaramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Makashi Dukhabha Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityurma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. Humble Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all the saints and sages of all traditions. Jai. Let's rise for our tea.